Hi, welcome to Life After Baby. I'm your host, Leslie Hudson. From bottles to books, spit up to social media, and everything in between, each week I interview parenting experts to help me navigate postpartum life and new motherhood. Today's guest is Allison Barto. Allison is a local mom of a toddler, a realtor, a photographer, and a former small business owner. She's super organized and wears a lot of hats. We sat down to talk about how she uses her background in logistics to make life easier as a parent. Thanks for joining us today, Allison. How are you doing?
Well, thanks so much for having me.
Do you want to tell us, that kind of bio gave us a little bit about you. Have you always been organized?
I think I have always been organized ever since I was little. I think I have just been someone who liked things in their place, and that's the way I've operated.
I feel like there are definitely two camps. You're love planning, or you're just like, we can wing it, it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
I am definitely the first one as well. I think definitely, at least I've seen my Facebook divided into that when it comes to this whole quarantine and in this whole situation. Like, I feel like some people are either, we have to stick to a schedule, and some people are like, well, we'll see how it goes. Or some people, again, I've seen are like, we need to dive into projects, we need to hold off. What have you seen have you heard from a lot of clients of how they lean one way or the other?
I've seen the same thing, and a little bit of a combination, sort of. I think people are trying their best to have some sort of schedule. I think a lot of people have children at home that were normally in school. So I think a lot of people are juggling having children at home and trying to work from home, and just kind of making sense of this new normal for the time being. And I also am seeing a lot that people are trying to take on sort of smaller projects because they just need like that creative outlet, or just to kind of be doing something physical. I know for myself, I had a few days in a row where I was just in front of the computer all day, for like 12 hours. And my body was just craving getting outside and doing something physical and, fresh air, breaking a sweat. And so I think it's important too that people are taking the time to do that, whatever that may be, that helps them feel better.
I thought this was a really good article, and we'll include it in our show notes, from UNICEF about how to make a schedule during this crazy time. And it starts off saying, these are extraordinary circumstances. You do not have to be perfect. Just do your best. This is not forever and will end at one point. Recommended, to kind of keep routines and schedules, to go to bed and get up at the same time, to, when you set goals, make sure they're not too ambitious. Take some time to plan your schedule, and then also add the kids as well.
Yeah, because it's a lot for kids now too. Kids of all ages. It's a big change for them. Obviously you've got kids in high school, and it's really unfortunate that they're missing out on graduations, proms. It's a big milestone for them. That's very difficult. Also having a loss of freedom and independence. They shouldn't be going out and socializing the way that they're used to. So that's hard for them to lose that control, all the way down, even, to the toddler level. That's, my son's used to going, to school Monday through Friday, and he's got his teachers and his friends in that routine, and he does respond well to having a routine. So it's hard, and he'll say comments here and there, and it really kind of cuts you to the core, because you realize, he made a comment the other day about, when everybody's not sick, and it's hard because, they just pick up on everything around you. And that's with us not having the news on and not talking about it, excessively in front of him. But you realize they just pick up that things are different. And I think that, per that article, it makes sense to make sure that people are giving themselves grace and being flexible. And I was listening to, I think it was Mel Robbins that said, just pick one thing that every day you want to get done, so that you've got something that you've accomplished that you can cross off your list and feel good about. And so I think that's really important. Gwyneth Paltrow had made a comment about it's a great time to learn a new language and pick up hobbies. And I think there was a lot of backlash from that. And I think her intent was probably good, as far as if you do have the time and there's something you've been meaning to do, it can be a good time to do that. But most people right now are under tremendous pressure and stress to cram in more things in less amount of time. But I think if there is time to kind of take that break and maybe work on something you've been meaning to do just to give yourself that relief and that sense of accomplishment, that can be beneficial too.
Absolutely. And I think, like you said earlier, that outlet, I think one thing definitely now we're all trying to figure out, we have our normal outlets. Like, I go to the pool, I go to the gym, and I sit in a coffee shop by myself. So now we're all trying to figure out, okay, well, that was my stress reliever before, like, what is it going to be now? And just to add another element as well.
Yeah, it's definitely a game changer. It's just everything that you're used to doing from your routine. And it's interesting that, it is a lot more difficult to work from home. And one day I was like, I don't understand how I've cut out all this commuting time and yet the day feels so much shorter, but it does. So it's a big adjustment for everybody right now.
Yeah. Two things that they suggested that I think is a good thing to carry over from our previous schedules is to eat at the same times, to stick to your usual work study times, and then also this seems like a good area that you can weigh in, to find a space that when you're working from home, and that is your office or place to work. And then there's same with the kids, and that's where their school is, and having kind of those boundaries, at least in your brain, I think is a really smart idea.
I think that's excellent advice, to have those dedicated areas where that's what that space is intended for. I think that's wonderful advice to try to do if people are able to do that, or at least to delineate throughout the day, like maybe cleaning up at the end of the day to signify that school's over and now it's dinner time, and kind of put the schoolwork away, because I think it's stressful when it's all just kind of blending from one part of the day into the next. And I think that definitely affects when people are going to bed and, staying up later, and that does mess with you, I think, when you're not getting the right amount of sleep. So I think that all kind of comes together nicely to have that balance.
Absolutely. And I've seen a million color-coded schedules that they have samples for kids, but I think it applies for adults, how it's like, okay, 20-minute reading time, or now it's outside time and eating time, and just like you said, kind of breaking up your day and realizing, oh, okay, it's time for the next activity.
Yeah, and I think along those same lines, having that, time blocking and things scheduled, and then also being gentle with yourself, because I think naturally we have days where we're having ups and downs, where, some days you just don't have the energy, your head's not in it. And I think you have to just kind of be reasonable with yourself. And if you have to kind of take it easy, whether it's go sit outside and read a book, like, there's just so many emotions and things going on right now, which I think are completely reasonable. And so not to set big expectations for what people plan on getting done in a day and beating themselves up, I think is huge too.
I know you love logistics. How have you taken your love of logistics into parenthood, especially nowadays?
Well, I'm normally pretty organized from a logistics standpoint. For me personally, I find that having a system around things just makes things easier and run smoother for me and for our household. So at times like this, some of those systems are just kind of like running in the background, which has been really great. For me, it also allows me to be able to be more flexible and pivot when things come up that causes me to change my routine. Whereas if I'm not organized with something and then I've got to make adjustments and switch gears, it can be more challenging. So, I'm a big fan of, like, when it comes to travel and packing, I have like a spreadsheet that I've then just altered like per trip. So like when Knox was, a baby and we went to Texas, I had, a spreadsheet for that. And then I would just copy and paste it for like the trip to the beach. And then he would be a little bit older. And so I could take things off the list. And it was just a nice checklist, because when they're really little, everybody's exhausted. And so I need something physical, black and white in front of me that I can check off. And I believe that when it comes to systems, I think anything I know that I'm going to do more than once, I like to systematize it, automate it. So just by having that schedule, it was really nice, or that packing list rather. I know that I can just pull that up when I have a trip, and I'm not starting from scratch each time. So I just have that saved in my computer, and then it's really easy. And then my husband can also help me because I can have that and be like, all right, here's what I already have packed. If you can grab, this, this, and this. So things like that help me. When it comes to traveling, I love packing cubes, especially for little ones because they go through so many clothes. So I use that to like separate things out. I'm really organized. My husband, he's a creative type. He's a graphic designer. He's a skateboarder. He's a woodworker. So he's someone who's a much more free-spirited person when it comes to organizing. So we kind of make that work where, I organize things, I plan things, I make the lists, and then it's sort of like divide and conquer because then, I may pack the car, I may buy everything ahead of time, pack, have the list, but then when we get there, it's like, okay, well, you can unpack the car, you can, put everything in, you can move it. So we kind of share those responsibilities. I've always been someone that ordered groceries just because, I work full time, Knox is in school. So I'm used to using Prime Now and Instacart. So I've obviously been adjusting to the fact that you can't get things delivered in 3 hours like you used to. So it's been nice because I'm used to using that. So navigating that has been good. I'm a huge fan of Amazon Subscribe and Save. It was something that I put off for the longest time because I was worried that I would just have things showing up all the time that I already had, but it turned out to be really easy. I get an email saying, hey, this order is going to be fulfilled, and I can go in and like skip a month. You can set like my dish detergent. I just have like a 3-pack and it comes like every 2 months. So you can set the frequency, and that was huge when Knox was a baby. I had the diapers and the wipes on like an auto schedule. Same thing, toilet paper, paper towels. So all the household staples, I have that set up. That's something where it's just automated that I really like. And again, especially with babies, they go through so many things so quickly. So to have that automated is really nice.
I did see one of the things I was reading, a tip for people is along those lines, like if you can delegate it, delegate it. And obviously this is under different circumstances, but if you can afford to have someone come in once a month and clean, have them do it. If you can have your groceries delivered, do that. And I think we, especially as moms or as parents, there's that pressure of like thinking that we have to do it all. And I think if we don't have to and we're able to, then, trying to delegate as much as possible to make our lives easier, it's the way to go.
Absolutely. And, they always say, figure out what your hourly rate is. And if it's, if you're able to do more dollar producing activities in 2 hours and it makes sense to outsource that activity that you would have spent mowing the lawn, if you can, if it's cheaper for you to mow the lawn and you can get more done that can bring that amount of money into the household, it makes more sense than to outsource something like that. For me, normally I have a service that comes in, every other week to, just clean the house, change the sheets, things like that. And it's nice just to have that extra help. But the other thing I found was that when I come home on those days, it actually gives me energy because I'm walking into a house that's just been cleaned, toilets have been scrubbed, and it's almost like a launch pad for me because it motivates me. It puts me in a good mood that the house is already cleaned up. So I actually find myself doing more in like the days right after that because it gives me the energy versus if I walk in and everything's a mess and there's all these things that need to be put away, it's harder to kind of get that activation energy to get started. So I found that was one of the benefits too, if that works in your budget.
Absolutely. Do you have any other systems that you live by when you're not just traveling?
I think going back to my retail days, that was something that led to me being kind of organized. My days at the Gap as far as folding and organizing drawers and dressers and closets and things like that. I've just always been really organized with that. So Knox's drawers are organized. I have them grouped by like short sleeve, long sleeve, shorts, pants, swimwear, and for me it's really easy because I can quickly see all of his clothes. I make sure that he's wearing stuff and not growing out of it before it gets worn, because when they're little that's such a challenge. They grow so quickly, and I would buy things on sale, an awesome $35 Gap sweatshirt I could get for $4. But then if you don't time it right or they go through a growth spurt, it's like they outgrow it before it's even the season. He's a label maker, and I just put a label in the front of the drawer. And it's more so too to help for my husband, because then he knows exactly where to go and he's not rifling through the drawers. but then I can see everything. So I'm making sure that things are getting worn. And I would, when he was really little, I would do current size and next size because he was like going through things so quickly, so that I would like kind of know when to start moving over. I also keep a hamper in his room that's just for donations or hand-me-downs. And so if I take something out and it doesn't fit him anymore, I'll put it right in that donation hamper, and then it's filled. Because if not, I find it so challenging to kind of sit down and go through all the clothes and remember like what they've outgrown and you know what that you can get like another month out of. So I just, if, as soon as I realized it didn't fit anymore, I would put it, you know, right in there. If something has gotten ripped and it's just not, you're not going to wear it anymore, I just put it right in the trash. So that hamper technique is nice too, because then I just donate it. I just box it up, donate it, and it's ready to go.
I think we could probably talk about your systems for another 2 hours. But I think it's time we take a quick break, and we will be right back after these messages.
A Taste of Olive carries high-quality extra virgin olive oils, balsamic vinegars, and gourmet goods from artisans around the world. They have 2 locations in Chestnut Hill and Westchester, Pennsylvania. You can also find recipes, shop, or find more information at www.atasteofolive.com.
So thanks for tuning in to Life After Baby. We are back with Allison, and we are talking all things organized, logistics. Do you have any other kind of systems that you really love?
Like enabling and empowering children. Ever since Knox was really little, I would involve him in decision making, whether it was picking out his outfit or what book to read, or, you know, asking him what he would like for breakfast or lunch, just so he feels like, you know, his opinion and his voice is heard. And then I just think that that then helps to eliminate sort of just him then, like if he's insisting on something that I really like, it's not going to happen, I don't feel as bad being the disciplinarian, because he's been able to have some choices with other things. And it also helps then with like cleaning up like his toys and his work. You know, he's normally very good about that. And that's reinforced at school, which is important too. But then it helps around the household because, you know, he's a part of the family and he cleans up. We're not just running around after him like butlers.
So Allison, what are, you know, if people were like, man, like you said, I need a project, I need something to keep me busy during this time, what are a few things that you would recommend?
What I've found helpful for me right now is just sort of spring cleaning and purging and really going through and finding things that I could get rid of. I think a lot of people say like, I don't have enough storage, and instead of buying more and more storage containers, I found that it's a lot easier just to get rid of things. So I've really tried to go through, and if I've got duplicates of things, I donate it. Like I just went through my kitchen a few months ago, and I had, you know, whether it was 5 wooden spoons or, you know, just an old hand mixer, and I don't need 2. There aren't going to be that many occasions that I have 2 people in the kitchen that need to, you know, be using a hand mixer. So I just went through and, you know, just donate things. If it's junk or it's old, then I just get rid of it. But I think it's a really good time. It's like a cleansing thing. It feels good. You feel lighter. I know right now we can't actually go and donate things. I just have an area in my house right now where I'm just staging everything. So we're able to do that again, but it feels good just to have that sort of more free space, and it feels lighter and cleaner. So if that makes you feel good, I recommend doing that. I think right now it's springtime and a lot of people, you know, want to be gardening. And so just getting your hands out in the dirt, being in the fresh air, having the sunlight can be really good, whether if it's weeding or just cleaning up an area. I know I'm a nerd. I'm really excited to have a power washer that's on its way. So I'm really looking forward to power washing my patio. I think at times like this, it's like a really quick burst of accomplishment and feeling like satisfaction that you got something done and you're cleansing and purifying something. Absolutely. So that can help some people.
And I think that is something where you can literally, I mean, you go from a very dirty patio to it's immaculate and beautiful, and you can see within 10 minutes, okay, I made a difference. And that is a huge sense of accomplishment.
Yeah, just the other day I went out and, you know, it had been really windy. And so there were leaves and pine needles and small branches like all over the patio, and it looked like nobody had been out there all winter. And so you're like, oh, I feel like, you know, my house just feels disheveled. And so I was sweeping, and then I remembered we had a leaf blower, so I came on, I was like blowing on the leaves, and when I was done, it was so clean and it just felt really fresh and new. And you know, you're moving around, you're moving your body, and it felt really good. And so that was something where it probably took half an hour, but that time would have flown by if I'd been sitting in front of my computer. So it felt really good. So I think anything to get you moving and feeling like you're taking pride in something, taking pride in your house, I think, you know, is something that's important right now, because our house is our shelter, and it's our one of our few things that feels pretty stable right now. Something we do in real estate is staging consultations. So whenever we have a client who's thinking about listing their home, we come through as a service and we give them advice on how to rearrange furniture, where they want to declutter, how to repurpose things, because you really want to pare your home down. So that's something that we normally do. And as we know right now, not many people are listing their homes for sale because of the quarantine. So we're actually going to be doing a little contest soon where we are going to do a virtual consult. So if somebody has like just a room, whether it's a home office that they've never used and they've started using, or they've got, you know, a playroom that's out of control, or they're now using a space for homeschooling that they didn't before, or there's that kind of like that box that was never unpacked. Sometimes people have that third bedroom that they've put all their boxes in, or all their crafting supplies. So we're going to be doing something just to kind of like do something of value and to give back. So if people want to share with us a photo of a space that they kind of would like, you know, professional opinion on, and we're going to help offer suggestions virtually, and, you know, figuring out how to clean up, maybe reorganize, organize, declutter, and repurpose some things. So that's something we're going to be doing that I think will be fun and just like a little breath of fresh air.
Yeah, I think definitely bringing in an outside voice definitely helps when it comes to that kind of stuff. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, so I know you mentioned photography, and I know you're a wonderful photographer. Do you have, and I thought, you know, this could be a good time. I'm sure I have an entire Google album full of photos, and I've been trying, you know, every month I've been trying to upload photos of my daughter. And for a while I was like making a photo book as I go. Do you have any favorite ways to manage photos? What projects do you do with them?
So a good friend of mine, Kimberly Scola, owns an awesome bakery in New Hope called Factory Girl Bakes. And she recommended years ago to me something called Chatbooks. And so it is an app that you link up to your Instagram account. And so mine's set up. So the way, I haven't even looked at the settings in forever. It may have changed since it was first set up, but my original settings were every 60 pictures, it creates a photo album and prints it and mails it out. And so I set it up when Knox I had it for my flower shop, because I would use it to be able to show potential brides like all of our work in like a tangible format. And it was just easy because you didn't have to think about it. So I have it set up, which is great for like baby books. So every 60 photos, it will automatically send a hardbound book to my mom, my mother-in-law, and us. You get a notification that it's about to go to print in 3 days. So I can go in and delete photos if I don't want them in there. I can add them if I want. You can pick the cover. You can do paperback. I just did hardback because I wanted it to be something that stayed for a while. So you can kind of set it and forget it, and it's really easy. I normally will go in and just like make sure I don't have any pictures in there that aren't like relevant to Knox, because it's meant to be sort of a baby book. Yeah. And then you can also do like one-off albums, and I think the quality is nice. I know my sister uses Shutterfly, but like if we do a family vacation, I'll go in and quickly, you can very easily create an album. And it's nice because the ongoing series has like volume 3, volume 8, and it has the date range on it, but you can also do like a one-off album of like a, you know, a special occasion, which is nice. But it's been really nice because our relatives now have this like ongoing series of photo books of Knox, and they're dated, and it has the captions, and it's just linked to Instagram. So you can make it as easy or as complicated as you want it to be. But that was a suggestion I'd taken from Kimberly years ago that I love. And then I take a lot of photos all the time. So I'm the person that when I go to the store to get an iPhone, I have to special order it because I need the biggest one for the capacity. At any given time, I have 70,000 photos on my phone. So it's a problem. So I have it synced up to the cloud, and I pay like an extra $10 a month for 2 terabytes of storage. So I know that my cloud's got room on it. But it's nice because the same photos are on my desktop, on my laptop, and on my phone. So if I shoot, a family event and I edit it, it's nice because I can also pull them up then on my phone if I need them for something. As far as organizing them, what I typically do is I'll create a folder for the year and then months. So I'll have a folder for 2019, and then I'll do 01 for January, 02, so they're numbered, and then I'll just dump in like all the months, and then I'll also back those up to an external hard drive. So I'm kind of cleaning out the cloud, but I've got them backed up. And then I also know that I can go in and delete whatever I want from the cloud since I've moved it over. It's something that it's sort of like always like a nagging thing to do. So if I get in the mood to do it, I'll try to just sit down and I'll bang out like a whole bunch at a time. It's something I never feel like doing. So I'm not good about like, every week I'm going to go through and clean up my photos. I just don't. And then when I do sit down to do it, I've got screenshots in there and I've got like just all sorts of stuff. So then I can delete things, but it's sort of like if you get in the mood, I suggest sitting down, having some TV show on in the background or a good podcast and just trying to like bang through a whole bunch. But that's how I number it. I have folders with the year and then the month and then in there because it can be easy to go back and find something. Like a separate, when I would shoot weddings, I would have just a weddings folder and then I would kind of number it the same way. And I would have the bride and groom's name, in there. And the same thing when I would photograph families, I would have those names so I could go back and find it quickly. But I think just coming up with a system that works, that you know how to go back and find it, and definitely look at doing like an external hard drive or just buying more storage so you can keep it organized like on a cloud or on a Google Drive, but have it in a way that you can find stuff. And I definitely suggest taking the time to print some things out. I like MPix for printing, and SmugMug I used to use a lot. Whenever I photograph for people, I use PixieSet. It's a really nice format to send people all of their high-res images that they can then, save and download or print right from there. But I definitely recommend taking the time to print, even if it's just a few photos from whether it's birthdays or holidays. I got in the habit of, the holidays, I order at least one little frame with the year on it. And then I try to get a picture of Knox, like in like his Christmas outfit, Christmas pajamas, and I make a point to print that out and put it in there so that each year, you've got something like a little ornament with a photo in it, because when we were little, you always did that. And I feel like, you have school photos or daycare photos, but it's so easy to take pictures all day long and not print anything, that it's important to make an effort to just print at least a couple of things out. And I know that it's really nice for older relatives just to mail them a stack of photos, because they like to be able to look at them and show their friends. And so it's nice. And it's different than just...
When my daughter was born, I took a friend's suggestion and I created a Google album for her. And then I have my mother-in-law who lives in South Carolina is added on it, my sister and aunt who's in Chicago, relatives all over the place. And then that way they can get updates whenever we add photos. And, I go through like once a week and I add stuff.
I think that's an awesome system, because then people have the ability and the control to pick the pictures that they like and, go through and do what they want with them. And, I'll frame some, because I think, people tend not to do that as much either. So I think that's an awesome suggestion.
So we're going to move into our last segment. It is our parent pop quiz. So life with kids is unexpected, especially right now. And so are the questions in this segment. So we are going to spin our wheel and see what question you land on during our parent pop quiz. So if you could ban one phrase about parenting, what would it be?
I would say, I don't know if it's a phrase about parenting, but a phrase when I hear people say good boy and good girl, for some reason that just gets under my skin. I just, I would like to do away with that.
Yeah, I think that would be a good one. And so one last thing, I'm a new mom. I have an 11-month-old, and I wanted to start this podcast as a way to help people navigate life as a new parent, because it's a little unexpected. Do you have any suggestions for first-time parents or new parents?
I would say always feel free to ask questions. If people are giving you unsolicited advice, feel free to ignore them. Every baby and every mother is different. And so that's where I try to be careful about giving unsolicited advice. And every circumstance is different. Even, my sister has 3 kids and each one is a little bit different. So, I try not to tell people, what to do or what my thoughts are if they didn't ask.
Well, that brings us to the end of our show. We'd like to thank Allison for joining us today. As always, we appreciate the support of our sponsor, A Taste of Olive. This has been a Crimson Planet Media production. Our theme song was created by Doug Keller. When the kids are finally asleep, visit our website at lifeafterbabyshow.com. Subscribe to our podcast wherever you get your podcasts, and follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Life After Baby Show. Thanks for tuning in to Life After Baby. And don't forget to take care of yourself so you can take better care of them.